This is WFYI News Now. It's December 9th, and I'm Abriana Herron. On today's show, the role certified peer support professionals can play for people with substance use disorders. New research on where Hoosiers land on political issues like access to cannabis, abortion, and gun laws. And community members and university researchers want to know how industrial pollution in Martinsville has affected residents' health.
I think that the results are shocking us, really, to see that it's not necessarily the people who live in these toxic plume areas, it's kind of everywhere.
Those stories coming up, but first. A jury found 2 Indianapolis officers not guilty on all charges in the death of an Indianapolis man who was having a mental health crisis. WFYI's Elizabeth Gabriel reports the 2 officers faced charges of reckless homicide, involuntary manslaughter, and battery.
Adam Ahmad and Steven Sanchez were 2 of the officers who responded to a call involving Herman Whitfield III, a black man having a mental health emergency in 2022. His parents had called 911 seeking help. Rick Snyder, the head of IMPD's union, said he's pleased with the not guilty verdict.
There's no winners in this trial. There were also no criminal actions by these officers.
The coroner's office ruled his death a homicide, in part due to heart failure while in police restraint. During a 5-day trial, prosecutors argued that Whitfield died because he was unable to breathe after officers held him in a prone position. The defense argued that officers followed IMPD's guidance and Whitfield's pre-existing conditions led to his death. I'm Elizabeth Gabriel.
Certified peer support professionals can be an important addition to the healthcare spaces by providing care to people with substance use disorder, but sometimes stigma can get in the way of those benefits. Indiana Public Broadcasting's Abigail Ruman reports one paramedicine provider says more companies need to create spaces that support those peer professionals.
Peer support professionals use their own lived experience with mental health and substance use issues to assist people in the recovery process. Nathaniel Metz is the president and CEO of Phoenix Paramedic Solutions. He says peer support professionals are an important resource, and employing them comes with the responsibility to create a space that acknowledges peers are almost always people in recovery.
Our mission wasn't just going to be outwardly facing, it had to be inwardly facing. If we're a humanities company and we say we're here to help people, I don't think that should stop with clients versus employees.
Metz says maintaining employment and benefits is important to support his employees through their recovery, even through the potential of a relapse. For Indiana Public Broadcasting, I'm Abigail Ruman.
A strong majority of Hoosiers support legal access to cannabis, abortion access in the first trimester, and requiring a permit to carry a concealed gun. Indiana Public Broadcasting's Brandon Smith reports those are results from the latest edition of the Hoosier survey from the Bowen Center for Public Affairs at Ball State University.
The views of the more than 600 people surveyed don't match what Indiana lawmakers have enacted in recent years, but Bowen Center Interim Director Kevin Smith says historically, policy often lags behind public opinion.
Public opinion surveys like this can be interpreted to lead to a variety of conclusions. The answers just aren't that simple.
For instance, while a majority of people in the survey are in favor of various gun restrictions, nearly as many also support allowing teachers to carry guns in the classroom. That result could line up with the nearly 90% of people who say school safety is moderately or very important for the state to focus on. And while a majority support broader access to abortion, that issue is also at the bottom of the list of topics those in the survey said to focus on. For Indiana Public Broadcasting, I'm Brandon Smith at the State House.
And for our final story today, community members and university researchers want to know how industrial pollution in Martinsville has affected residents' health and make a plan for what to do about it. Indiana Public Broadcasting's Rebecca Thiel reports a study could help many other communities in Indiana that are affected by the same chemicals suspected of making people sick, PCE and TCE.
They're used in dry cleaning and industrial processes. While we know how these chemicals can harm people working with them, we don't know much about what happens when you're exposed to small amounts over time. Groundwater with PCE and TCE got into the soil in Martinsville. Now polluted air from the soil is seeping into homes and businesses. Local teacher Stephanie Little is helping gather participants to test everything from their breath to their memory and ability to learn. She and her children all had PCE in their breath, even though they didn't live near the source of the pollution.
I think that the results are shocking us, really, to see that it's not necessarily the people who live in these toxic plume areas. It's kind of everywhere.
Little and other community members hope to create an action plan with residents. That could look like keeping residents up to date on the health of the community or finding ways to protect themselves from the chemicals. For Indiana Public Broadcasting, I'm Rebecca Thiel.
Residents who take part in the study can get up to $95. You can find out more about the Martinsville Environmental Community Action Project at mecap.us. That's all for today's episode of WFYI News Now. Our podcast is produced by Drew Daudelin, with support from the news team at WFYI and public media journalists across the state. Our news director is Sarah Neal-Estes. Kendall Antron produced our music, and I'm your host, Abriana Herron. If you like today's episode, remember to subscribe and share, and follow WFYI on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube to check in on our newsroom throughout the day. Thanks for listening. We'll be back tomorrow.